Saxon Algebra 2, Lesson 93. Look, students. Look. Last week, first lesson of the last week, I get to cross it off because I'm going to teach it right now to you. And this, you guys, is a great example of why you should not let words scare you. This lesson has a very scary name to it, the discriminant. What is that? It sounds like a movie with, I don't know, Leo DiCaprio or something. I think I'm thinking of The Revenant. But that's not the same thing. This is mathy, but it's not hard at all. You're going to get to the end of this and be like, oh my gosh, why was I ever scared of that word? All right, now I'm going to explain to you what the heck it means. And it's PS. It's a bunch of information you already know. I'm just reviewing it so that we'll be on the same page. Here we have a thing that we call a trinomial. We can turn it into an equation, right? And what we're trying to do with this is we're trying to solve for x, right? We're trying to get x equals. And we know we have a really great tool for creating that answer. Oh, just a second. That's a minus b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. We have this lovely tool called the man-eating dragon, aka the quadratic formula, and we can take this a and this b and this c and we can plug it in and we can turn the handle on the sausage making machine. I don't know why I always think that, but we can simplify all of this and we'll get an answer. And usually we get x equals plus or minus. Sometimes it's a real number, and sometimes it's a complex number.
Oh my God! Holy.
Grace is barking at my daughters who just came home from McDonald's. They made a midnight run. It's not midnight. Is it midnight? What time is it? McDonald's people, what time? It's 11:30, so I exaggerate, but Gracie's pumped. Okay, so usually we get either two real numbers or we get two complex numbers. There are some situations where for x we will get one real number. That doesn't happen very often. But these are the three scenarios that we can get when we simplify something like this. Now, and I'm going to call this number 1 and this number 2 and this number 3, just so that my list is in the same order as John's list. If you happen to look in the book, I don't want to confuse you. All right? This is the one that doesn't happen very often. I'm going to write rare in front of it. Okay? And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But we usually get one or the other of these scenarios, 2 or 3, okay? Now, is there any way to predict which type of answer you will get? The answer is yes. That's what the discriminant does, is it predicts which type of solution the particular expression will have 1, 2, or 3, which relates to these, okay? So what exactly is the discriminant? The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Look, that's right here. We're already calculating the discriminant every time we use the man-eating dragon. We just didn't know that was a thing, and we didn't know that it would tell us which of these 3 kinds of problems we would get. Okay? Now, here's the thing. If b squared minus 4ac equals 0, then x equals 1 real solution. And that, I mean real number. I'm just not writing all that up, okay? So if b squared minus 4ac equals 0, then that means we're going to get one real solution. It's scenario 1. Now, that doesn't happen very often. I can't think of a problem we've ever done where we get 0 right there. So that's not, again, a situation we encounter often. It's very rare. That's when the thing inside the pig house turns into a 0. If the thing inside a pig house is a positive number, then x will equal 2 real solutions. Real number, again, is what I mean by that. And by now you've guessed, if the discriminant equals a negative number when you simplify it, then that means our answer will be 2 complex number solutions. Okay, so, I mean, is this a big deal? Not really, but it's kind of like a fun spoilers, right? If you want to know what kind of an answer you're going to get ahead of time, you can use this little parlor trick. You know, you can surprise your friends at the next sleepover that you have, you know, during COVID. But it's just a fun little way to predict what type of solutions you will get. Okay, and John asks you, I'll show you how the problems work. There's only 2 of them. Again, it's what's inside of there, which you already know the whole formula. So we're just looking at that little part of it. I'm going to write it down again. X equals minus b. There it is. Okay, so example 93.1. What kind of solution does the equation x squared equals minus 4x plus 2 have? Do not solve. Okay, so what John's saying is just use the discriminant to find out which of those solutions it will be. Okay, well, what we need to do is we need to get this organized properly so that we can find A, B, and C. That's step 1. We really don't even need C, but you have to get them all together. And we have to rearrange. That's not very hard. At this point, you guys can rearrange in your sleep. These guys need to swim this way. That means they're going to change sides, so they're going to change signs. So we'll have x squared plus 4x minus 2 equals 0. Now, the discriminant is this part, and we don't need the radical sign. We just need the letters. So it's b squared minus 4 times a times c. So in our case, it's going to be, buckets are the way to go. B is 4. A is 1. I guess it would be good to write this down. A is 1, B is 4, C is minus 2. We do need C. I think I said we didn't need it, but I lied. Right? Plug in. And then our third step is to simply solve. Okay? Or simplify, really. We're not solving because there's no equal sign in this, so we're just subtracting this down. This then becomes 16, and this will be 4 times 1 is 4, 8, 2 negative, so plus 8 equals 24. So that's a positive number. So if this is a positive number, then we're going to have 2 real number solutions. So that's what John wants us to write out. 2 real number solutions. I don't usually like to write words for my answers. Like, it's okay to put a word on a solution, but I hate when the answer is just words. But in this case, you just have to write it out. And these, will it be on the test? Maybe. But I definitely want you to practice writing it all the way out like so. Okay? And John writes it as the equation has two real unequal solutions. Well, yeah, of course. If there's two solutions, they're not equal because that's only one solution. So I feel like he's being needlessly picky there. Just write it just like that. Example 93.2, this is our last example for this lesson. What kind of roots does the equation minus 2x, he says, what kind of roots does this equation have? Do not solve. Okay, what kind of roots is just another way of asking what kind of solution, right? Remember, roots are just solutions, so don't let that word freak you out. All right, we need to clean this up, rearrange it, find ABC. Okay, I'm going to swim these guys over. They're going to change sides, so they'll change signs. I'm going to have 3x squared minus 2x, because that's already there, and then plus 8 equals 0. I'm going to do A, B, C. A is 3, B is minus 2, C is 8. There is my, well, it's up here. It's the first place, right? So I'm just going to do this time, minus 4. Not going to rewrite it. I've got it right on the page. B is minus 2, A is 3, and C is 8. Now I simplify. The minus sign is packaged in there, so I can't cover it up. That becomes a 4 minus 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 8 is what? 96, right? So that equals negative 92. Aha! It's a negative number. So I look at my little chart. A negative number means it's two complex solutions. And John writes it wordier. This is what I want you to say. Two complex number solutions. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense, because what the discriminant tells you is that if you have a negative in the pig house, that's an imaginary number, right? That's all it means, is that a negative in the pig house is going to trigger an imaginary number. And that's really what it boils down to. If this number is positive, you'll be fine. You might get a radical, but it'll still be a real number. But if you get a negative in the pig house, that makes perfect sense, right? Because you're going to have to change that negative into an I. All right. Now, John does give you the same information that I do, but he writes it in a much more long and drawn out. You have to dig through all of this to find it. So I highly recommend that you, right now, copy this and this into the covers of your book. This makes it real simple, right? If you want to change this so it says number, that's maybe a little bit more complete. But this nets it all down into one little chart, okay? And then these numbers match to what we were saying up here, which is the same thing as here. I'm not sure if that's necessary, okay? That's the discriminant. It was cute. It was fun, wasn't it? Pause me if you still want to see this, but otherwise we're done. Yay, lesson 93. I loved it. Goodbye.